Good evening. I'd like to call the 24th meeting of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel on Monday, February 13th, 2023 to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Madam Clerk, you're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. Councilman DeWalt,
Here.
Councilman Cole,
Here.
Councilman Sidnor, Councilman Mitchell,
Here.
President Smith,
Here.
Mayor Mo.
I'm here.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have Mr. Ethan Sweep, the community liaison from Congressman Glenn Ivey's office. Mr. Sweep, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I am Ethan Sweep, and I'm sorry. I think it will smudge on my camera here. Yes, but my name is Ethan Sweep. I am a community liaison with Congressman Glenn Ivey. So I wanted to first just start by introducing myself to all of you and letting you know that our office is here to help with whatever you need. We are here to help you with projects that you have work on or that you may have, and to also better serve your and our constituents. I also wanted to let you know that we will be having a grants newsletter that's going to be coming out soon. I am hoping we can get everything set up to get that sent out this week. But that will have information on federal grants that are available, as well as resources and different trainings and webinars that we'll be setting up. And then we will also soon be starting our community project funding process, which is a grants process through the House appropriations process. We are still waiting on guidance on how the process will look for 2024 and how much money is going to be available. But we would love to set up a meeting with you all to kind of talk about different projects that you have going on in the community and whether or not they would be good projects for this process. So I am going to just drop my contact info here in the chat so you all have it. But feel free to email me at any time to set up a meeting. I'm more than happy to talk with any of you. So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions or anything, I'm free.
Any comments or questions from the council? No. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Sweep.
Yes.
We'll definitely be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right. Next on our agenda item is the agenda item number 4, report of the Mayor and City Council. And I'll start with Councilman DeWalt.
Good evening, everybody. I'm gonna instead of tell you the things that I did at the community, their events, I'm a little perplexed on a media and information tape, the Mayor and City Council of Laurel Department of Communications. It's a press release that was released, and the title of it is just confusing to me, because it says City of Laurel Council pauses rent control discussion. Rent control, the word rent control and the word rent stabilization are two different subjects. And to have the title of this as a rent control discussion, I find totally inappropriate, because we've never, in all the meetings we've had and we've discussed, and we had experts on there so many times explaining the difference between rent control and rent stabilization. I don't know why that would be the title of it, rent control, because usually the only people that use the word rent control are the high-paid lobbyists, the developers, and the landlords. So that's the first part of it, which I find I find very, very disturbing in and of itself. It also says that the city of Laurel has been working on enhancements of the city of Laurel's existing affordable housing program and workforce housing policies. Over 5 years ago, I introduced the problems with the affordable housing program in the city of Laurel. And the only thing I could tell people is what you need to do is you need to go to the city website, look up the affordable housing program. It involves Evolution at Town Center. It involves Duval, West Side, and Avalon. These are the 3 apartment complexes. And even 5 years ago, they for an efficiency, believe that it hindered on almost $2,000 for rent. Now I went there, called all 3 of them about 4 months ago. And an efficiency in our affordable housing program, if you add in utilities, trash, parking, water, pets, they got all kind of different charges for it. We're well into the 2,000 mark, closing closer to $3,000. So our affordable housing hasn't been affordable housing in many, many years. And it's something that we should continue working on every day. And I can't see pausing anything like that when we don't have the affordable housing in our city. The other thing is Prince George's County has now introduced CB 007-2023 Rent Stabilization Act, the way it should be said, Rent Stabilization Act of 2023. And I would encourage everybody, me and Council Member Mitchell and numerous citizens and Ruth Walls from Patrons for Peace and a lot of other politicians from different organizations throughout the county. We testified at the Prince George's County meeting when it was introduced. Now they're getting to the finalization stage, and that's going to be on February 28th, 2023. And we would love to have everybody come there and testify for that. I know me and Council Member Mitchell would be there. And if you read the next part of this statement, it basically describes a portion of the rent stabilization, not rent control. And it limits when your existing lease is up, it puts a max on it at 3%. And at that time, ours was introduced, it was at 4%, is what the mayor wanted at that time. The other thing about this is it says, since there is currently no drafted legislation before the mayor and city council of Laurel, we did have legislation. We had legislation that was drafted on September 21st, 2022, which is about 5 months ago. And that legislation, the way our city works is you propose legislation, you submit it to the president of the council, it goes to the city solicitor. The city solicitor makes sure it's lawful, it's good legislation, the verbiage is correct and all that. Then he sends it back. And then what the council does is they review it, make sure everything's okay. And then we debate it, we add things, take away things like that. But eventually we were close at that time and we thought we would get it rectified. And well, it was never presented to the city solicitor. It just sat there. And that's where it stays now. It just sits there. There's nothing, there's no effort into putting it through so that we could work on rent stabilization. We even had Mary Lehman come to one of our meetings and say that encourage us to adopt an ordinance on a local level because it was so hard at the state level because of all the high priced lobbyists that would just pack the courthouse. It was also, we got an opinion from Attorney General said we were perfectly legal to draft our own legislation. So not only did we have a legislator encouraging us to do it, we also got an opinion by the Attorney General saying it was perfectly legal to draft our own legislation. The other part that that I have with this news release is that it says that, and this is in quotes by our president, Brencis Smith, he placed a pause on any other discussion on affordable housing, including rent control measures. There's that rent control thing that only the lobbyists, the high-paced lobbyists, the developers and the landlords use, and it's not rent stabilization. And we will work in partnership with Prince George's County Council on updating this section as the county code. And that was a quote. So I know it's not any fault of our communication section, because they're all just doing what they were told to do. And the things that's just disturbing about that is we have been working with Prince George's County. We've been working with them since January 15th of 2023, when Tom Dernoga came to our first and second Laurel Housing Coalition meeting. And that's when it was formed. Now, at any other meeting, Tom, through his office, sends a representative there. We've also had representative from Joshua Payne and Melnix, and she's been there, I think, once, but she always sends a representative. And of course, Mary Lehman, who's been to numerous meetings of ours, including the one at City Hall that I previously quoted, and she always sends a representative. So we have been since January working with Prince George's County Council in adopting what they wanted, because it's going through Tom Dernoga's office. It's also said by the president, it is best interest of the city council to work with Prince George's Council, which we have been, on one city voice, Rent Stabilization Act, so that there will be a level playing field throughout our county, instead of each jurisdiction having a different policy. Well, my only comment to that is that we are totally different than a lot of the municipalities and cities in the state, totally different. And the meetings have shown this. I mean, we have 3 current developments that are being developed right now, huge developments. We also have 3 more that we've already approved. So we are a lot different than Mount Rainier. We're different than Greenbelt. We're different than Brentwood. We're different than College. We're different than a lot of them because they don't have the land to expand as much as we do. So the thing was about our taxes pay for a lot of our services. And we have the taxes. We're going to have the tax base for many, many, many years. So those are the differences with getting an ordinance, rent stabilization ordinance passed at the local level, because those are the little difference. But every other key issue, like the 3%, that's exactly what the county wants. The 3% on the developers or the rentals and stuff like that. Most of them are pretty much the same, except you get to choose. If you do it locally, you get to choose your own little caveats that fit your area. I also want to compliment the city of Hyattsville and Mount Rainier with their proposals. I've watched both their meetings go for a long time, and they're nearing the end of their ordinance on rent stabilization. There's also many more interesting parties that have been coming to the housing coalition meetings that have shown an interest throughout the county of Prince George's. And my only other thing, which I always stress as far as with rent stabilization, is it prevents displacement, diversity, it keeps strong neighborhoods, and it keeps a peace of mind by the renter to not have to worry about, when their lease is up, that the landlord can only raise it by 3%, instead of 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, and even some of our citizens, it was raised $800. And it gives them a peace of mind to plan for the future. That's what stabilization is for, to plan for the future and keep their children in the same schools and not have to pull them out of schools because they have to move, and support the biggest one too. They can plan for future endeavors, they can plan for retirement, and they also can support our city in volunteerism once they know that their rent and that they can prepare for will only be increased by 3%. I thank you for your time. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Move on to Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you. So on January 24th, I attended the Maryland Rent Stabilization and Tenant Protections Coalition virtual meeting. There was about 30 plus participants. And on the 26th of January, I attended a White House briefing on tenant protections. And it was attended by a few mayors. I do remember Mayor Benitez from Mount Rainier was there. On the 29th of January, I went to a new resident meet and greet at the Selborne Senior Home. On the 30th, I was joined by several council members at the site visit for the multipurpose center. The new multipurpose center is great to see the progress that's going on there. On the 31st of January, I testified on behalf of financial literacy, HB 99, Maryland public schools, and the Ways and Means, basically trying to get mandated financial literacy curriculum in all public schools. On the 1st, I went to the tail end of the Laurel High School versus Wise wrestling match. They had their senior night, and just wanted to congratulate them. They had their regional duels this weekend. So their only loss of the season is to Wise High School. Wise had an undefeated season going into the postseason, and I think Laurel now is 14-2. So that's their best season to date, the wrestling team. And that's later that evening, I attended Councilmember Denoga's University Medical Center update, which is virtual. And on the 2nd, I testified in Annapolis on behalf of SB 51 and JPR. On February 3rd, I went to the Black Wall Street DMV awards reception at the Omni Shoreham Hotel. It was great to meet all of these different people in business and government. On February 4th, I went to the ninth monthly meeting of the Prince George's Housing Justice Coalition meeting, and that was held in Mount Rainier Police Station. And on the 4th, I went to Selborne House. My grandmother, she just published some books, so she had a book signing in the community room. And on February 7th, I testified in E&T on Delegate Melissa Wells' bill to increase notification for rent increases, which was, of course, one of the things that we had realized would definitely help tenants as well. February 12th, I went to the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department, Engine 10, their monthly breakfast with the twins and my father. And later that day, I went to another book signing of my grandmother at a local business, Ches Yami on Main Street. And they catered it. They had, really good food. On February 13th, which is today, I stopped by Sankofa Yoga. They have a new lounge that they were opening up to their membership. So I was able to take a site visit. And I wanted to let everybody know that on the 24th, an E&T committee in Annapolis, there will be 2 housing bills of importance Just Cause Bill and Tenant Safety Act. And so I just wanted to put that, on everyone's radar. You can testify virtually or in person. And of course, also send written testimony. And, with that being said, I appreciate it. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Councilman Cole, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President. I've been pretty busy the last couple of weeks myself. On January 29th, I attended St. Mark's worship service and followed that with their Sacred Grounds presentation for their native pollinator gardens through the National Wildlife Federation. On January 31st, following the presentation of the no-kill animal shelter, I sent a letter to Tom Dernoga asking him to draft and sponsor legislation to repeal the Prince George's County pit bull ban. On February 5th and again on February 7th, I assisted St. Philip's Episcopal Church and Laurel Elementary School with the installation of signs asking people to clean up after their dogs. Thank you to staff for your help clarifying our code. On February 7th, I also went out and reported an additional 21 lights that were being defective in Ward 1. I was happy to see that people are using the BG&E app. A lot of the lights that I passed were already reported. This past Saturday on the 11th, I attended the Laurel for Patuxent litter cleanup. It was amazing to see the number of people that came out. I think it was a record turnout for the cleanup that Saturday. Yesterday, as Mr. Mitchell said, I also attended the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department breakfast. I also attended the Laurel Black History Month program. Thank you to the staff and council members that helped make that program possible. It was really a great experience. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Cole. Councilman Sidner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make a public service announcement first. I had a meeting with the new director of Woodland Job Corps right here, and it's Anne Arbor County, though, but most of these people shop in Laurel and come to Laurel for a lot of things. And she told me that she wanted me to help her. They need a lot of help jobs-wise. They got a lot of job openings. So to contact them, you can go to https woodlandjcc.applications. You can come back. I give more information as well. But these are some of the jobs that open, just to give you an idea. Addiction counselor, human resource specialist, business community liaison coordinator, licensed practical nurse, residential advisor, recreation specialist, 2 of those, academic instructor, 3, hotel and lodging instructor, career counselor, IT analyst specialist, nurse, registered nurse, career transition specialist, security officers, cooks, 3 cooks need hired, maintenance mechanics, drivers, utility workers, and utility workers too. So they need a lot of staff at Woodland Job Corps. They also need students as well. So we'll give our communication department that information. The public can go on there and see that. Like I said, they're hiring Ms. Graham, the director there, that she wants the city of Laurel to get involved and help fill those places of jobs, and also get candidates. So they need candidates, students that in transition, not only from 16 to 21, I believe. I can double check age. You can go to Woodland Job Corps and get a trade there. So it's very important to us as council members and the city staff as well to help promote those those jobs here in the city of Laurel, not the city of Laurel, but Woodland Job Corps. They ask us for our help, so we want to try to accommodate them as much as possible. So I'll finish my report. On January the 27th, I attended a literacy campaign at the Laurel Library. As you know, I'm always involved with the youth, and literacy is very important to get people to read and write. And so we can continue meeting on that. And on January 31st, Student Government Association invited me to come there, be their guest speaker. It was a very interesting conversation. Students had a lot of questions, things of that nature. So I went there as a guest speaker at Martin Luther King Middle School on January 31st. And yesterday, we had our Black History program. I thank the communication department. Good job. We all work together. Little hiccups though, but I knew it was going to be a success because that's how things happen. We can't control everybody's income, but somehow we move forward and we get the program done as a collaborative help. So I want to thank Communication Department Director Barnes, the Deputy Director, George Jackson, and the other staff as well. It's a great job, and the place was packed, and I think we had a lot of good information there. And once again, happy Black History Month to the city of Laurel. This is my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. I'll go and then I'll move on to the mayor. All right, just to address some of what Councilmember DeWalt said. I'm not against rent stabilization. I personally believe it belongs on a regional level. So there, again, there's an even playing field, as stated in my press release. Also, I asked to receive memos by December 31st. I received none. There wasn't a consensus with the draft proposal written by Councilmember Mitchell and DeWalt, so it didn't move forward into legislation. There wasn't a consensus on agreements on that, on what they wrote on the proposal. And the rest of the proposals that were written to the administration were proposals by myself, Councilman Sidnor, and Councilman Cole. Not all of them together, but in pieces, acts for several different things. And those are, again, discussion points. We're putting it on pause to see what the county does, what the county covers us. And with that, we'll come back to the drawing board. This is not an ending discussion. It's exactly as it was stated, a pause. And we're gonna work together. We may disagree on how, but I think we all agree on what needs to be done. We do agree of the ending solution. And with that being said, I'll leave that part there, or if anyone has questions, they can write my office and I'll respond to you directly. Last thing, two things I did this past month, the tour of the multi-service center. I was there with Councilman Mitchell and fellow council members, Sidnor, DeWalt. We toured the multi-service center, and that it's a beautiful sight to see. I can't wait till it's finished. That's going to be great, lasting legacy for the city, taking care of the northern end of Prince George's County. And lastly, the Black History Month program. I want to thank Councilman Sidnor for leading that, spearheading that. I want to thank communications as well, Mayor Mo, and the whole administration and staff. It was beautiful. It was heartfelt. The state's attorney was in presence, Tom Denoga's office, and seeing the children light up to be able to partake in something bigger than themselves and putting on a program televised. It was a beautiful sight. I participated myself in what I knew best, and it was a joy, and it's a beautiful sight to see. Laurel's changing. I love it. I love the diversity, and I'm hoping to see more of it in the future. So kudos to you, Councilman Sidnor, for leading that, and looking forward to many more programs and just what you add on to the city. That concludes my report. I'll move on to Mayor Mo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me offer some condolences to Joe Cook. Joe is the husband of former City Administrator Lou Ann Crook on the passing of his mother. Also, family and friends of Robin Cooch, who was a former city employee at the Department of Park and Recreation. We did lower the city flag in her honor and in her memory. As well as yesterday, we learned that a good friend of the city and volunteer, Bill Watts, a senior, who's a member of the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department. He was a member of the Reefs Across America, the Laurel celebration, and retired as a corporal with the Prince George's County Police. And Bill passed away yesterday, and as part of our flag protocol, since he's a volunteer, we lowered the city flag in his honor as well. No arrangements have been made as of yet, but when we do, we'll make sure that council gets that information as well in the public. I did have the opportunity as well to attend a former member of the Laurel Police Department, Corporal Harry Capino, at his funeral, as well as longtime businessman John Maloney, who had both of those had passed away. I did have the opportunity to attend St. Mark's Church, their native plant garden presentation. And I want to thank our emergency manager for setting up Chrissy Cornwell. I want to thank her for setting up the Narcan training, and had the opportunity to go through that training as well. On February the 3rd, did have the opportunity to tour the multi-service center. with Councilman Tom Dernoga, and I appreciate him taking the time. And we will again continue to communicate about the center and work with his office as well. One other that I attended was Buzzy Powell, longtime member of the community here, as I reported last, passed away, and his viewing was last week. The Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments Board of Directors meeting I attended. That was virtually, as well as the virtual Prince George's County House delegation, and the bi-county meetings. I've been attending those virtually as well. Be in Annapolis this week with the mayor's conference, and also talking to our legislators. I do want to acknowledge, I want to thank Councilman Sidnor, as well as the Department of Communications, working with them to put on a city's annual Black History Month program. Well attended, talked to several people that watched it online as well. And the kids and the parents and the public, it was quite a scene, and I appreciate that. And I learned things too. I appreciate. Tonight we did have the first my time with the mayor. We had one resident come in, gave us some good information. She did talk about the Laurel Independent, and appreciated what the city did to help get that moving forward, and gave us a couple ideas for our section as well. I do have a couple announcements. On February the 20th, the city offices will be closed in observance of President's Day. The other thing that we learned just the other day, and we're trying to figure some things out. I have a couple calls into some of our elected officials. There is a liquor permit at the state for the Main Street area. The city didn't request it. We're not sure how it got in. So in case someone sees something to that would leave up their permit up to 5 permits on the street. I'm not sure there's 5 that we would use, or do we even need that many? So we're trying to find that out as well, and we'll keep everybody posted. To the public and to council, I did send a memorandum a couple weeks ago. I think it's time to start discussions regarding the Laurel Hospital and the annexation of the Laurel Hospital. That's an important piece of property. When we were negotiating for almost 2.5 years, the intent was always to see that property come under the city. I did ask for the council's support and ask them to let me know, unless everybody's on board with the discussions and moving forward. It will cost us money to do things, but I do think it's time to take a look at that. It's good for the city. It's going to protect what we have here in the city. They are attempting to create their own Main Street. I don't know how that will affect us. But again, if that's all completed and taking businesses from our area, that's a concern for me. It will expand our tax base. And quite frankly, the city, everything goes right through the city when we're talking about going to the hospital, emergency services, or what else. But it is time to have that discussion, and I look forward to us moving forward with that. I did send a letter to Council Chair Dernoga. We received on July the 22nd, the city sent a letter to Prince George's County Planning Board opposing the Westgate Apartments expansion. As part of the record, when we got the case, the decision, they've granted their expansion. And I might add, which is really upsetting, the hearing examiner reported that no one opposed that, which is not true. The city did put in their letter, but I also read where nobody else showed up and no one else said anything regarding this expansion that they wanted to do. We had people here discussing those issues. It was a final opportunity for us to do that. I did send a letter to Councilman Dernoga asking him to take a look at that and why the city was not in the report. I do also want to make a couple comments because we were talking about press releases. I'm reading a press release here. And there is a lot of statements, as Councilman DeWalt said, the one the city has. There's a lot of misinformation regarding this press release as well. City of Laurel has affordable housing policy. We were the only ones in the area since 2015. Is it everything we need? No, but we're going to continue to do that. The administration is continuing to look at other ways to do that. So that's been around since 2015. We also, through the council's efforts, provided tax credits, which we are hopefully going to continue to move forward on. These are long-term, in my view, things that need to be adopted and need to be moved forward on. We also put into place, because we knew that people were going to need help, funds for rental and utilities and others. We left that up to the professionals. We gave money to Lars. We gave money to CASA, and that was to help the residents of the city of Laurel. So that money is still there. It's still available. And I encourage the public, if they're having some concerns or issues or need assistance, to contact one of those organizations. Multi-service center is another indication that this mayor and council feel deeply about, of helping people. We bought a building for $2.4 million. We are adding money and working with the state as well. That center alone will bring services, badly needed services, our community. And I think the council should be very proud that we continue to move forward with that. And that's happening here tonight. The 3% and the information regarding the proposed, this booklet was given to the council. It's called City of Laurel Landlord Tenant Information, Discussion and Proposals. Nowhere in there did it state anything about legislation. This mayor has not proposed any legislation. If you go back and you look at the agenda on September the 21st, 2022, it talks about an overview of all of the different things that need to be talked about. That included the proposal by Councilman DeWalt and Councilmember Mitchell. That is not legislation. And I continually tell people there is a proper way to do legislation, and it needs to be done right. The charter is very clear on how things are to be done when you're drafting. There is also your own council rules. And quite frankly, this was a work session. At a work session, you cannot propose legislation. You just can't do that. There is no legislation. There are proposals. And those are things that we need to continue to talk about. I agree with the council president with the pause, but we're still working internally here on other things that we need to look at for long term when we talk about affordable housing. The city of Laurel falls under, right now, and always has, falls under the landlord tenant. All of that will be changed working with Prince George's County, quite frankly. And for us to go and do our own thing, it is a lot more than people keep telling everybody. We have to look at the housing code. Do we want to pick up that? Where the enforcement piece, how it's going to be, who's going to enforce it? All of those things that were the same questions that presented by council members in Mount Rainier when I listened to theirs. I've been listening to most of what's been going on around the county. I talked to a lot of mayors. I think it's important for us to make sure we deal and work with the county, and that was my commitment to the county council chair as well. But I'm not going to sit here and debate everything, but when we put information out, it needs to be accurate. It needs to be something that's not confusing to the general public. I'll be more than glad to respond to this later on, but I just wanted to mention that tonight. I know it's out there online. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next agenda item is agenda item 5, the general public hearing. Madam Clerk, is there anyone signed up to speak?
No, Mr. President, we don't have anyone signed up to speak.
Right, then I'm going to open the public hearing at 6:39 p.m. and I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:39 p.m. Agenda item 6, is introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 2005. An ordinance amending the general operating budget and capital improvement program of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland for the fiscal year July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and to provide an effective date. I have read the title into the record for the first reading. This item was discussed at February 1st, 2023 work session. Director Saylor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council, Mayor Mo. As we discussed at the work session, this ordinance has no change to the general operating budget, but these changes are for the capital improvement program, adding $10 million to the Laurel Multi-Service Center renovations and $32,000 to the Laurel Bikeway. Of the $10 million for the multi-service center, I stand corrected from my work session. That's $5 million from ARPA funds and a $5 million grant through the State of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. And the $32,000 being added to the Bikeway is also from the State of Maryland grant through the efforts of the Department of Public Works. Those are all the changes, Mr. President.
All right, and I understand you're requesting the council suspend the rules and approve this ordinance tonight, as some bid recommendations later in the agenda require approval of the ordinance first.
Yes, sir, respectfully requesting.
All right, council, I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to suspend the council rules.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All right. I'll entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 2005.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2005.
Point of clarity, Mr. President. Point of clarity, then we got to vote on suspend the rules first and then pose the ordinance.
Is that? All right. Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote? Thank you, Councilman Sidney.
No problem.
Councilman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman DeWalt,
Yes.
Councilman Sidnor,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
President Smith,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Now, again, I'll entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 2005.
Mr. President, I'll motion again to adopt ordinance number 2005.
Can I get a second?
Mr. President, second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Sidnor,
Yes.
Councilman DeWalt,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
President Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Mo.
I want to, is that the correct ordinance number?
2005,
Yes,
yes.
okay. I'll concur.
Okay. Next agenda item is agenda item number 7. Resolution number 2-2023, a resolution of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, designating the month of April 2023 and thereafter each month of April as No Mow Month to encourage residents to voluntarily delay lawn care and mowing to support pollinator-friendly habitat during a critical period of pollinator emergence and providing an effective date. I have read the title into the record for the first reading. This item was discussed at February 1st, 2023 work session. Madam Clerk, is there anyone to speak signed to speak on this item?
No, Mr. President.
All right. Well, open and close the public hearing at 6:44 p.m. Any questions from the council? All right, if the council agrees, the second public hearing with possible action on this item will be at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, February 27th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Next agenda item is agenda item number 8, resolution number 3-2023, a resolution of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, for the purpose of approving an agreement between the city of Laurel and the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 11 I read the title into the record for the first reading. This item was discussed at the February 1st, 2023 work session. Ms. Pulley, do you have anything to say? You want the floor?
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, members of the council. I do not have anything additional to add since work session. The questions that were asked of Councilman Mitchell and DeWalt were followed up with memos. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, Madam Clerk, is there anyone signed to speak on this item?
No, Mr. President, there's no one signed up.
All right, and I'll open and close the public hearing at 6:45 on this item. If the council agrees, the second public hearing with possible action on this item will be at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, February 27th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Agenda item 9 is consideration of bid recommendation, City of Laurel Multi-Service Center Phase 2. Director Bailey, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, Mayor, City Council. As we discussed in the work session on February 1, the Department of Parks and Recreation has been working with KCI Engineering on the planning and design of the multi-service center Phase 2 plan. As discussed, this consists of renovations to the front portion of the building, which includes a large warming kitchen, medical suite, haircut, shampoo area, large laundry room, computer lab, counseling rooms, winter haven quarters for men and women, an enclosed outdoor patio area on the ground floor. The second floor will consist of 19 transitional bedrooms, staffing offices, counseling, and tutoring rooms, open lounge areas, shared laundry rooms, community rooms, and 2 shared pantries and several satellite offices. The Department of Parks and Recreation solicited bids for Phase 2 of this project through Maryland Marketplace and the City of Laurel website. 5 companies showed interest in the project through questions and participation in the on-site pre-construction meeting. However, only one submitted a formal bid. References were verified and the bid was reviewed and qualified by the city solicitor. The following bid was received by Keller Brothers of Mount Airy, Maryland, in the amount of $9,612,060.72. Funding for this project is provided for in the FY23 adopted CIP Laurel Multi-Service Center project, which includes ARPA funds, State of Maryland grants, city funds, and funds approved by the State of Maryland Board of Public Works. Currently, Keller Brothers is the primary contractor for Phase 1, which has been under construction for several months now. In conjunction with KCI Engineering, the city has thus far developed a good working relationship with Keller Brothers, who in a short time period has proven to be a dependable and reliable contractor. It is recommended that the City of Laurel accept the bid of $9,612,060.72 from Keller Brothers of Mount Airy, Maryland, with a 5% contingency of $480,603.03 for a total project cost of $10,092,663.75. That concludes what I have tonight, and I'm available for any questions.
All right. As you said, this item was discussed at the February 1st, 2023 work session. Are there any questions or comments from the council on this? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Keller Brothers for the Laurel Multi-Service Center.
All right, can I get a second?
I second, Mr. President.
All right. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Sidnor,
Yes.
Councilman DeWalt,
Mr. President, I have one comment for Bill Bailey.
Sure.
I would just like to say having Keller Brothers do the first phase and getting them to do the second phase, I think is, and it sounds every time like I talk to Bill that they're very dependable. They do quality work and stuff like that. I think it's a great thing that Bill was able to get them do the second phase too, because now that they're, they got their feet wet, and we know that they're reputable and they're good. And I mean, this is a lot of money going into that. And just from what we saw in our tour, it looked very, very good. And they were very, very friendly and just answer any questions on the site and everything. And I want to compliment Bill Bailey on the work he's done with that. And I vote yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilman Mitchell.
Walt.
Sorry. Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
President Smith,
Yes.
motion carries.
Mr. President, could I make a statement, please?
Sure, Mayor Mo.
I think what Councilman DeWalt said is accurate, and I want to thank Bill as well. But I also really want to thank the council as well. They've been involved with this since day one, and I think we're almost there. I think the engineering firm understands we want to get rolling as well, and they've been very helpful. But I think the council in particular, with their yes vote tonight, I think they're going to make the lives of individual residents and people that need assistance here in this area, not just the city, in this area, better. And I think they should be very proud of this vote. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Mayor Mo. All right, moving on to agenda item 10 is a consideration of a bid recommendation for non-destructive pavement evaluation, city roadways. Director Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor Mo, and City Council members. As discussed in the work session, this non-destructive pavement evaluation is to better assist the city in prioritizing our maintenance efforts, funding, and scheduling of city roadway improvement projects. The project is in two parts: the roadway pavement evaluation and the geographic information systems, which, as I explained before, would help us update our criticality of roadway systems as they grow in the city. Funding for the project is through the FY23 adopted CIP, non-destructive pavement evaluation, and CIP project street and safety improvements. It is recommended that a proposal from EBA Engineering, which is one of the city's engineering firms on retainer, be approved in the amount of $70,760, and I'm available if you have any more questions.
All right, any questions or comments from the council? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the $80,000 to that engineering company.
All right, and can I get a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman DeWalt,
Yes.
Councilman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Sidnor,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yeah.
President Smith,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Agenda item 11 is a consideration of a bid recommendation for Cherry Lane Bikeway feasibility study and preliminary design. Director Lee, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Cherry Lane Bikeway feasibility study preliminary design. This recommendation is for approval of that study, and the Department of Public Works, we successfully applied for, as reported out before, for a grant that was awarded through the Maryland Department of Transportation Kim Lanphier Bikeways Network program to help defray the cost of this project. The targeted area is Cherry Lane and Van Dusen Road to US Route 1, Baltimore Avenue. The project scope will include the initial survey, up to 3 concept designs, and the project cost estimate as previously discussed. Funding for this project is provided through the FY 2023 MDOT grant in the amount of $32,000 and the FY 2023 adopted CIP pedestrian bicycle plan, ARPA funding in the amount of $43,285. It is recommended that the proposal from KCI Tech, which is one of also the city's retainer firms, in the amount of $75,285 to conduct the bikeway feasibility study be approved. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the council or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the KCI engineering with the 75,000. And if you could put a quote in there that we have to keep those speed cameras coming eastbound and westbound on Cherry Lane, while project is being conducted. That would be great.
Understood.
All right, and can I get a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman DeWalt,
Yes.
Councilman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Sidnor,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
President Smith,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Next agenda item is number 12. Agenda item number 12, a bid recommendation for Compton Avenue Engineering. Director Lee, you have the floor again.
Thank you. This recommendation is for the planning and engineering of the Compton Avenue improvements, which would seek the improvements for selective repair of concrete sidewalks, pedestrian ramps, full depth pavement repairs, gutters, asphalt work, partial milling, and resurfacing. KCI Technologies, one of the city's 3 firms, was selected for the bid of $60,180. Funding is provided through the FY 2023 adopted CIP, specifically the Compton Avenue Improvements Project. It is recommended that KCI be awarded this bid in the amount of $60,180 for the engineering, design, bidding, and construction administration phase of this project. And I'm available for any more questions.
All right. Any questions or comments from the council? All right, if none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to accept the bid from KCI Technologies for Compton Avenue.
All right, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman DeWalt,
Yes.
Councilman Sidnor,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
President Smith,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. And last agenda item is a bid recommendation for Laurel Avenue Engineering. Director Lee, you have the floor again.
Thank you again, Council President. This particular bid recommendation is for Laurel Avenue street improvements, which also will look at the sidewalks, the concrete repairs, the pedestrian ramps, full pavement milling, curb and gutters, asphalt repair, partial milling, and resurfacing. I'd also like to add, which I neglected on last street, this time around, we're also looking at if there's a need to look at adding more drain and sewers to these streets as we go along, so we can project that in the future. KCI will conduct these field surveys, site visits, soil borings, prepare construction documents, and cost estimate. The cost of this project is $87,232, and it is funded through the FY 2023 adopted CIP Laurel Avenue Improvements Project. DPW, we recommend that KCI be awarded this engineering and planning part in the amount of $87,232. And I'm also available for any more questions on this project also.
All right. Any comments or questions from the council?
I'd like to entertain one question, please.
Sure.
Director Lee, since Lars is on Laurel Avenue, would there be any possibility of KCI possibly having some extra money provided with this project to have KCI look at Lars? They have a huge problem with their driveway that goes to the back of the building. It's very, very narrow because they have that big handicap ramp that comes from the back all the way up to the front. So it makes these delivery trucks go off the road and makes huge ruts in that yard next to them. I think they might own a certain easement on that. I'm not certain of it, but it would be great to get that made a little bit wider so that these delivery trucks, when they come in, they won't be tearing up all that dirt and causing big ruts and making it very, very unsafe, not only for the vehicles, but for the people walking up that roadway going to the back. Is that at all possible to have them look at it, for KCI to look at that?
Councilmember DeWalt, I will reach out to KCI and we can reach out to Lars, but that's not a part of this particular request that we're requesting tonight for the engineering. That has not been included, and we haven't even discussed how that would look with them. But we will reach out based upon your request.
Oh, that would be fabulous. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And any other comments or questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept KCI, the $87,232 for the Laurel Avenue engineering.
And can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman DeWalt,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Sidnor,
Yes.
President Smith,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right. Before we adjourn, I'd just like to remind everyone that we have a special work session on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, in person in the council chamber at 6 p.m. And there being no further business to come before the mayor and city council, this meeting is adjourned.